goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh, my God. Hello. Woo. Hello, Tom.
Good morning, Miss Lynn. Ninu.
God, I got more names and I don't like any of them. Really, my first name is Ida.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. What an awful name, Ida.
We go there.
Then I got Ninu, and then I've got insipid Lynn. I mean, so what do you... You would think if you had three names that
Rosie.
recognizably were you... Yeah, what do you think, if you know me now, what should my name be? What do you think I am?
Oh, you're Lynn, but I mean, probably the most kind of classic would be Ida. Ida, I always think of some woman in a house dress with her stockings pushed down, hanging clothes on a clothesline. Mm-hmm. Singing "By Mere Mr. Shane."
Well, that's
Ida.
It was an old name.
Yeah.
But this is
wasn't it originally Ida Bell? I think that was the full name.
No, it was Ida Lynn.
No. But I think the long name was like Ida Bell, and it was short. I think that's even worse.
I don't think so.
Ida Bell.
I don't think so, but
I don't know. It's funny when you said that. I thought of that story was told that when Mrs. Clinton became Secretary of State, some guy who was in the White House press room said, "Oh, Mrs. Clinton, how would you like us to refer to you, as senator or secretary, Madam Secretary?" And she said, "Oh, I don't really care." No, I got that wrong. She said, "Well, that's better than any of the things I've heard you call," or some line like that. So
both, either would be better than
either something like that than what they called me.
That's quick on the uptake.
The woman with many names.
I know, but
sounds like a grifter.
I know. Couldn't one or two be? I mean, just one be semi-interesting.
How about Rosamund? That's very grand.
Oh God, I don't know. Ida. I can conceivably be carry off Ida now, because that's an older name. But you can't be a 4-year-old Ida.
Well, then you'd be like Ida Pooh or something.
Yeah, you can. Jess loves the name. Do not name your daughter Ida.
I thought you just said name my dog Ida. I didn't hear what you said.
Do not.
It's a puppy name.
Can you imagine? Well, so you heard me tell that story, going to kindergarten. The only idiot in the room who the teacher said did not know what my name was. That could have sent me spiraling
oh my God,
down into
a shrink for the rest of your life.
Well, it's been pretty much the case. Oh boy! So it's Thursday. It's Toodaloo to February Day.
And Toodaloo to the Pope too.
And Toodaloo to the Pope, who's just about finished now, right? I mean,
more ways than one.
What's the time difference?
6 hours.
6. So it's 4.
So it's 4 more hours.
He's got 4. It's 4 more hours before they tie the knot.
You really? I'm gonna make you an honorary homosexual. Gay.
Because I know all the show tunes.
In Love, Valor, Compassion, that great Terrence McNally play, at the very beginning, it's a group of gay men who are of a certain age, their late 40s, and everything, there's all the punchlines are always, show tunes, and there's this young Puerto Rican stud who's the boyfriend of one of these, and he keeps saying, I don't know what you're talking about. But,
I know all
it's interesting. I was just saying to Jess before you came in, I don't know if you read, I think, was it Sunday or Monday, Frank Bruni's piece in the op-ed where he talks about the fact that all of this, especially with that Scottish cardinal, that, if you really come down to it, part of this has to fact these are all people who all have ages. And the Catholic Church robs them of that.
Yeah.
And so hence, that's not to say what is done illegally, immorally is not those two things. But still, these are adults. And
these are basic, human, what drives does a human being have?
Passion of also.
No, but they have the drive to eat. I'm just saying basic.
Procreate.
But sex is one of the basics.
Yeah, it is,
it's like eating, sleeping, and screwing. Those are the basics.
Right.
And if you say, we're going to shut ourselves off from that, well, I'll tell you, priests are human.
That's it.
And it will out one way or the other. It would cramp anybody who is sexually... maybe somebody is an asexual person, and God bless them, they'd have a better time of it, easier time of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the ones that manage to somehow repress all of their sexual, somehow that's got to come. Maybe they end up with eczema or something. Something has to happen.
That's a great choice. Eczema or pederastia.
No, it is so screwed up. And then you put them all in an environment where there's nothing but men.
Exactly.
Look what happens in jail, right? Guys who aren't gay end up having gay sex because you gotta have sex.
Well, and also, prison is a good example. It's not just that, but it's also sex as a power play.
Yes.
In other words, a young person comes in who smoked marijuana and is put in with these murderers, and they have to have their bitch, as they say, And so it's all of that, and you're thinking, my God, saltpeter or something, or neutering, but it's awful. And that has caused so much trouble and so much
it was
grief
never
and
an
pain.
initial thing.
No.
It was not. So it's not that Jesus said it. It's not that the first pope. There were married popes initially. This is nuts. It's just. It's
very. Nuts. I'm reading this book by Gary Wills called Why Priest. It's very good, very, very interesting, and he really knows his theology.
Oh, well, he's
written a bunch of books.
He's known for it. He's a brilliant.
Yeah, it's really a
Catholic writer.
It's very funny. They had him on with NPR last week, I think it was, with some Monsignor from somewhere, I think in Washington. And he just like whomp, whomp, whomp. The Gary Wills doing, canon law and what have you.
Well, it's very sad to see, a Catholic to whom the church means a lot.
Yeah, of course.
And who values all the wondrous things of the church and what it's done for them and their lives and blah, 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 blah. Having to deal with the reality of the very
and it's that business
human
of, I think if anything else, it's like hierarchy. There's always like major laws and minor laws, but the minor ones are the ones that get in everyone's way. Whether it's like keeping kosher or who can tie whose shoes or who can wear red shoes or white shoes, as opposed to, what was it, the greatest thing of love?
Yeah.
The greatest law is love, and not about these sillinesses.
I know. And I don't know how they get so sidetracked.
Well, it's human nature, I think, to want to be a nitpicker.
It all comes down to human nature.
Yeah.
It all does.
Oh, so that should take us to that.
No, but the answer is always, why? There's always two possible answers. Money or human nature.
Yeah.
And maybe the money comes under human nature. I don't know.
Greed, desire.
Yeah, all those
things.
See, but all these things this is why religion exists, I suspect, to give us a structure in which we can corral all of these desires. Look at the Ten Commandments: the desire for your neighbor's wife,
right,
the desire for your neighbor's property,
goods, yeah.
the desire to whatever. I mean, so I think
be vile and malicious and gossip. Yeah.
It's simply a structure to rein in human nature.
Well, or maybe not even rein in, but to sort of try to give order to it. That, if you desire your neighbor's wife, maybe, there's no way you can stop that desire, but you don't have to act upon it. Because if you act upon it, then all sorts of calamitous things will happen. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of order and disorder. And we won't have society if we don't have some sense of order. That's what laws are about.
Right, and that's so humans had to figure out how to create these structures, be they secular or religious. Religious ones, I mean, that's where anybody who thinks that man invented God, we got to invent this person.
Well, it's all funny. I was thinking about
watching.
Not that, but I was watching Nova, or one of those things, last night, and it was all about this one elephant troop. And it was so poignant. I mean, of course,
elephants,
you always aren't they wonderful?
I know.
But this one who has tried to sustain her child, this little elephant was born with almost like club feet, and this thing could barely move, and she kept picking it up with her trunk. And it was just so moving.
Can't. You know what? I can't watch those shows. I become so sad.
Well, now those poor things.
Well, we're murdering them again. They're all being murdered.
But also,
for their
above the murdering is that because of all the
land
agrarian
encroachment,
stuff, their grazing places are getting crunched in, and they're getting paranoid. It's like living on 3rd Avenue in New York, and look what everyone does there.
Well, I haven't been to 3rd Avenue in a while. What are they doing on 3rd Avenue?
One shouldn't say on radio.
Oh my God!
Or whatever is we're on.
We're not on the radio. We can say anything.
Yes.
Okay, well, before we get to that very odd thing that I do want to talk about with you, I thought that the Post-Gazette buried a very interesting story today. Well, I won't say buried. It's front page local section. It is not front page. And to me, it's a doozy. So when Potter was on yesterday, we were talking about all of the meetings and events that Mayor Ravenstahl has missed.
And he just missed some biggie, didn't he?
Well, no, but there's one after the other. He hasn't showed up for anything. So last night...
Maybe he has eczema.
Last night, there's another event, and this is a biggie for him because it's a candidates forum.
Oh, right.
And remember, he's running. It's a candidates forum in his stomping grounds, North Side. That's his political base, held at Perry High School. And he didn't show. Again, he hadn't shown at a similar meeting, I believe, 2 days prior or the day before.
Do you think this is partly because if he showed the first 10 questions about
there definitely
the
would be
police
some.
Department.
I don't know if these were debates or if each candidate gets up and just gives their
No, but
shtick.
when the reporters are there. Mr. Mayor.
Well, but he can't hide forever.
Well, exactly.
So, but here's what's interesting. What happened is his friend got up to... after Michael Lamb, who's running for his spot, did his thing, his friend and former, I guess, aide, who's also the ward leader. I mean, this is Pittsburgh. Yeah. So he works for Public Works Department. He's a friend of the mayor's. He's a...
Pittsburgh Machatunum, right?
Yeah, right. It's all the same. It's so incestuous. So... this guy named Kevin Quigley got up to speak, and here's what he said. I just find this belongs in like.
I see what you're going to read.
I love it. I love it. It's written like it's just classic sort of Irish Hal talk.
Yeah.
Listen to this. It is with a heavy heart that I tell you here tonight that the mayor couldn't make it. Within the next couple of days, he'll be having a press conference to discuss some issues. There's some personal things going on right now that I'm not at liberty to discuss.
Heavy heart. That sounds like he's about to like say his mother is dead or something.
I can see somebody in Guys and Dolls making this.
Right.
So listen, here he goes again.
And the violin.
Yeah, right. Everyone in this room, Kevin Quigley went on, supported the mayor at one time or another. Us, as Northsiders, it's always been an old adage that we stick together. I'm asking everyone in this room to send their prayers out to the Ravenstahl family and to stick together as Northsiders. Okay, so that's what he said. And he said, and this was news to anybody, so the mayor's going to have a press conference and talk about these personal issues?
Yeah, really.
And then so later he says, he decides, I guess there's a reporter there, Jim O'Toole from the Post-Gazette, and he says to O'Toole, I guess in response to a question, I'm going to tell you that the mayor's implicated in nothing that's going on with the city. He's having some personal issues. And I'm here to tell you that in the next couple of days, there's going to be some kind of press conference. I would just ask everyone in this room, he goes on to reserve your thoughts and say a prayer for the mayor and his family. And then he said, I can't tell you what that press conference is going to disclose. I just know I can't tell you. All right, so that's, I think, interesting.
Yeah. Because to me, maybe there is something.
Well, personal
but
issues.
It sort of sounds like he's trying to buy sympathy.
Well, it sounds like there's a shoe that's going to drop. I don't know. Right. It just sounds odd. So the previous night, the mayor had also missed another candidate's night. After that, he didn't appear at an event in the 19th ward. Or maybe that's the one. And his spokesman said he had a scheduling conflict. However, his campaign manager said he had to miss the event because his mother was sick. They can't even get their story straight. He had a scheduling conflict. No, his mom's sick. My dog ate it. Whatever. Then he was supposed to appear on a radio station for an interview on WESA. That's what DUQ is now.
Oh, okay.
Right? And this was for their first one-year anniversary show. Mm-hmm. And right before he's supposed to appear, the station gets a call that the mayor is not coming. And they had to go on air and say, we had planned to bring you an interview with the mayor. However, he was called away for an emergency. All right. Baloney. Over the weekend, he missed 2 events. One, which was billed as a mayor's mixer. And then another in which he was supposed to give out a bunch of awards. These are all, he didn't attend a one.
Well, what's perplexing is, if there's some illness in the family and maybe they don't want to talk about it yet,
that's
whatever.
Not what's going on. What a strange coincidence that would be.
Well, what I was going to say, though, is if this was the first time, then one might say, hope there's nothing, illness, what have you. But this has been true from the beginning of his mayoralty.
What, that he doesn't show
up and,
this is quite. He's up for re-election.
Well, and this is
everybody's watching him, and he's not doing his job. Every 2 minutes, we're told there's an emergency that he has to go to, but nobody will tell you what the emergency is. Very odd. Very, very odd. I'm just saying. I wonder where he's supposed to be tonight, because he won't show.
I wonder where did that expression first come out? It's fairly recent. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I'm just saying. You think it's recent? I don't know about that.
I think I've heard more people use it.
You know what's fascinating?
It may have been sort of a kind of folksy local vernacular, but now it seems people will, like someone will use it in a speech to sort of make that, I'm just saying.
Right.
It's a kind of disclaimer.
Right.
In a sense.
So here's another one, the new form of apology, which is my bad.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Now, the first time I heard that, it was from my son, and It was maybe about, I don't know what.
Isn't that sort of Valley Girl?
6-7 years ago. I don't know where it came from.
I think it's the children.
But it's, my bad.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, what? And now I actually like it. It's a very quick way of admitting responsibility and saying you screwed up. My bad. And I was fascinated to see that there was a release of an email exchange between one of the president's main men, a guy named Sperling in the White House, and Bob Woodward, the noted reporter. And they had obviously a conversation on the phone, and Sperling had gotten very angry and had raised his voice. Then, cooling down, he wrote Woodward an email in which he said, I really want to apologize for losing it. Right. And then he wrote, my bad. And I thought, wow. So here's a guy in just a few short years. It went from something that like a teenage kid says, "Hey, Mom, my bad," to someone sitting next to the president saying, "My bad." So it's that much in the vernacular.
Now,
very quickly.
That just struck me. What did you think? Maybe you've talked about this, because I've listened to the program every day this week, about Mrs. Obama giving out I don't know, that somehow just seemed to me
too much,
cheesy, not inappropriate,
it was just
sort
too
of
much. Come on, go. I thought, oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was. I mean, there's something about being with and of the people, but
don't abuse it. Don't go.
Don't abuse it.
Don't.
You know?
I mean, presidents lately have had to really, I mean, you got Clinton would go on the talk show. He played his saxophone.
That's right. That's right.
Richard Nixon, who you don't think of as a wild and crazy guy, was on Laugh-In, I think.
Really? I
believe so.
That.
So
that's pretty bizarre to think about.
Well, what was the phrase in Laugh-In that they always? There was a phrase that he uttered on it, which was
something like "Here come the judge." Or
no. God darn it. Well, hey, I'm gonna take a break because I've been being very good about on the 10, 20, 10:40. Take it. And then, as soon as I'm going to take the break, someone calls. That's what happens. Hello, caller.
No,
they hung up.
Maybe it's Mrs. Obama.
Oh, wait, no, they're back.
Oh, they're back. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? That's Suck It To Me.
Sock it to me.
That's it.
Wow. That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Who was the Sock It To Me girl? Was that Goldie Hawn? Was she the Sock It To Me girl? Or was it Judy Kahn? It was one of those short girls.
Yeah, but one was blonde.
No. Well, dark hair, but no, she wasn't black. Oh, there was the black girl, but
one was brunette, one had black hair, and one had...
Yeah. I think it was Goldie Hawn. Because Sock It To Me, Sock It To Me, Sock It.
But so Nixon, I mean, I'm sure they taped him.
Sock It To Me.
Yeah, and all of a sudden there, he popped up on one and said, Sock It To Me. Which is...
What was that other stupid show? Oh, yes, I just remember. Hee Haw. Do you remember that stupid show where people would, at the beginning, jump up from the corn and say stupid jokes? That was so revolting.
Well, I'm surprised you even watched. I was
a child back then.
Oh, okay.
What was it? No, it must have been the 70s. It wasn't the 60s, but...
I never watched it. I never watched it because it didn't seem like I was in their target audience.
Not appropriate for Nino.
Well, no, I thought, I don't think...
Nino's disliked.
Yeah, I didn't think they were talking to me. Whatever.
Sock It To Me. Oh, my God.
Okay, we are taking a break. We shall return very quickly, believe me.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Go to BergBargains.com for great deals on museums, shows, and meals from your favorite local restaurants. This week only, get discounts up to 60% on shows at the Opera, Symphony, and City Theater. BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have all cast into oblivion Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
All right, we were talking about boobs, but I don't know if
Well,
I have to admit,
if that was a middle school, they would have cut that all those.
I have to admit that when I saw your boobs thing from the Academy, I thought it was funny too.
Well, as we were saying just during the break was that not so much, this, that, and the other, but all these, I remember they showed one of those women, I don't know who she was, when he said, oh, and Lynn Cullen, we showed your boobs, and she sort of gave this,
Yeah, but that was cut in. Those actresses...
Well, no, I know that, but the point being, though, that, come on, you can't tell me that those 25 women he said in that fairly clever patter, all of those boob showings were so integral to the stories of those movies.
Perhaps not.
And it's sort of like, did they force you to do it? I mean,
But so what? I mean, it shows how sort of... But the other thing... We got a call. I
just thought the Oscars were so self-aggrandizing.
Well, we're such an adolescent culture. Can you imagine anyone in Europe having "we saw your boobs" joke? Yeah. Because boobs are just... We're idiots. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Lynn, you were talking about laughing. Do you remember a man named Pat Paulson that ran for president there all the time?
Yeah.
And that was his comedy. Would have passed for comedy back then, would have never gone through. He was on Johnny Carson and some of those shows like that, too. I never knew the guy do any jokes or stand-up at all. That's all he did. He walked around with a Pat Paulson sign for president.
I think, though, before he could walk around with Pat Paulson for president, he did have a comedy career.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I'm quite sure he did. But I do remember, he looked a little like somebody who actually did try to run for president. He looked a little bit, and so it's weird. Pat Paulson, he looked a little like Congressman Paul.
Yes.
Didn't he? Sort of milk.
I think he looked more like Kerry.
No, sort of milk toasty. Hair. Milk toasty.
Oh.
We'll see you.
Okay, bye. Milk toasty.
That man had the most sort of delicious Pittsburgh accent, I thought. It's so funny. It's still, that makes my ears ringle when you hear someone who has a real Yunzer accent.
Well, they're natives.
No insult, listener, but...
We don't want to all sound the same, Tom.
No, we do not.
There would be no, it's what makes a stew taste so good.
Okay.
You sound like a turnip. He sounds like a carrot. I don't know. All right. So, by the way, the Heinz, Nixon said sock it to me on Laugh-In. Goldie Hawn was on it too. Yeah. Actually, the guy who produced Laugh-In, Shatner. I want to say Shatner. Somebody look it up. Producer of Laugh-In. George. Anyway, what would I know?
Phyllis Schlafly.
No. But let me tell you, I had a very
liaison dangereuse.
Well, Schlatter. Okay. Yes, right. I'm sorry, blanked. George Schlatter. When in 2004. Yes.
It wasn't on then.
Well, no, it was not.
Okay.
2004, C-SPAN televised my entire 3 hours of my show. So I was national for 3 hours. One day.
Oh, just one day.
In 2004. What they were doing is going to around the country. This was right before the election. And seeing what local talk was doing. So they did. So they had cameras in my studio, and I did this. Well, I got to tell you, all hell broke loose that day because a lot of people, I guess, who've watched C-SPAN had never seen a liberal talk show go for 3 hours. And I was on that day, I must admit. I was on. So we were having the greatest show. People are calling from all over the country. I'm getting emails. I cannot believe the emails. I still, and Jess knows it, I still have well over 1,000 emails in my inbox that I never got to from 2004.
Wow.
All hell broke loose. One of the emails, which I didn't see because there were like 5,000 in 3 hours, was from George Schlatter, the producer of Laugh-In, who, when I didn't respond to the email, tracked me down and called me. And he said, I'm in love with you. I want to do something with you. We've got to do something. He said, listen, I'm not kidding you. He said, I called up Lily Tomlin and said, watch this woman. I still have some of the emails that he sent me. So he wanted, and I said, oh, that's very flattering. But what no one ever understood about me is I don't like being swept up in some kind of, I don't.
Okay.
And he didn't quite know what to do with me anyway. We talked and went back and forth a few times. I felt flattered.
You could have been Howard Stern.
He wanted me on a bigger stage. I think what he wanted. But that was a feather in my cap.
Lovely.
Huh?
Yeah, very good.
And then he told me later about, we talked more about like Laugh-In and stuff because he had to explain who he was. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah. So do you still?
No. I never keep anything up.
Oh, okay.
For all I know, he's dead. I think he was old.
Oh, I have no idea.
See if George Schlatter's still alive.
The fickle Ninu.
But anyway, so.
Yep, he's 80.
Is that all? Gee, I thought he was older than that. He's 80? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Is he single?
No, he's married.
Oh, dear. But she's still alive.
He's a nice Jewish guy, though, so.
Well, hey, there you got her.
Here, Chris writing about Luke. I tuned in about 10 minutes late to your show. I heard you talking about Luke. Did you happen to see a picture of him getting a lap dance? Maybe that's his personal issue that he's dealing with. Well, no, I did not see the picture, although I've heard about the picture. Channel 11 showed the picture.
Oh, really?
It's sort of a grainy picture of him with his security guy behind him, and there's a woman in his lap giving him a lap dance, apparently. But, I thought, well, yeah, so he's a young, unattached. Young, unattached male. Well, if
it was good enough for Prince Harry.
Indeedy. So I didn't think anything of it, except that what it was illustrating was that the mayor, the city, has paid out in the last 3 years over $300,000 in overtime to his security guys. These are the guys with the debit cards. And,
right.
And that he takes them everywhere. So, and he's out partying and he's out drinking.
But then it goes back to my Prince Harry thing. Weren't those stupid guards smart enough to keep the cops away? I mean, the people with cameras away?
Well, you can't. If you're in a public place and you're the mayor and you're having a lap dance. But the point is, I don't care if he has a lap dance. I don't care that the mayor is having a lap dance. I care that we're paying the security what is he afraid of? I mean, we were talking about the fact that Rich Fitzgerald does not use security like that.
Right.
Nobody did.
No
other mayor did.
No.
So he loves the trappings of power.
And there is a notion of appropriateness too.
Well, that's true. So, no, I didn't see it, but yes, I've heard of it. And I don't see how that's a personal issue. But then what do I know?
I certainly think having a
lap dance is personal?
Well, yes, I don't think. Oh, yeah.
Pat Paulson.
No, I say he doesn't. Well,
no, he looks like not Rand Paul. Who's the father? Why am I blanking on the old Paul's first name?
Yeah, well,
Ron
Paul. That's right. He doesn't.
Doesn't he look like Ron Paul?
But he always had that bulldog sort of, not bulldog, bloodhound sort of eyes.
He has a sad face.
Sad face. Bonjour, tristesse.
New questions are starting to be raised about Mayor Luke Ravenstahl after he's missed several public and political events, whose sources have told KDKA investigator Mary Griffin that the mayor's mother is facing serious health crisis, which is why he has been absent recently. But it's... Oh, okay. So his mother's ill.
Well, that's unfortunate. Wish her well.
Okay. But why is that a state secret? Well, then say something. Why? Then...
One doesn't have to give the specifics, but just to say...
I mean, if in fact that's the case, then just say it. And we'll give him some leeway, but he makes it... why does it always have to be so dramatic? With never telling people what the hell's going on. And your friend Ray...
My beloved Ray.
Writes, the church is taking this bashing lately, not because any of these sexual misdeeds are new, but because the church is running into the new social consciousness of sexual crime reporting and awareness. Behavior that for hundreds of years went unreported and repressed is now being held up in the light of day. Thank God. What the church is struggling most with is the profound sexual immaturity that has been institutionalized in this all-male clerical system. I agree. They're absolutely unable to emotionally deal with the very conversation about sex and sexual abuse and perversion, let alone reflect on the impulses in themselves. Picture for hundreds of years young prepubescent boys separated into seminary where they are taught by grown men also frozen in their sexuality at the same age. It is a centuries-old petri dish of sexual repression and perversion.
Well put.
The better institution is the modern sisterhood, but they too are dwindling. The real interesting thing for me is to try to imagine the real consequences of letting the priests marry, as modern Catholics call for. The same Catholics who are barely supporting the church now, let alone adding the expenses of wives, children, divorce settlements, child support, and college funds that would arise. Again, the church running into the modern world. The church is on the verge of a dramatic contraction that I see as a wonderful and necessary revolution. An old priest who I admired and miss once told me, "You're not going to surprise God." P.S. I think the mayor news is he's going to pull out of the race for personal reasons. Well, I hope that's true.
Well, I think, Ray, you're absolutely right, as always. And I think what's going to be very interesting, now, whether it's the Holy Spirit flying into the ears of the various cardinals, but I think, this is going to be an interesting pick.
But I'm also curious about why Ray would say that the church is on the verge of a dramatic contraction that I see as wonderful. So, Ray, I mean, if the church contracts, my understanding is that it would contract into a more conservative body, shutting itself off from this larger world, which has progressed well beyond it. So that the church will contract, the church will not allow married priests, the church will not allow women priests. If you don't want priests to marry, because they'll get divorced and there'll be children, then let women be priests. All right? And in fact, and that's not even brought up. So you're talking about retaining this all-male dominant culture, which screws it up. And you talk about it screws it up. And will continue to screw it up. And any contraction would just be a concentration of the most, traditional, old-fashioned kind of back in medieval times reality. If it contracts...
I'm not sure what he means by that word. I would say if a dramatic...
he's saying the church will get smaller. So,
because it may be.
Because people like all these American Catholics won't be part of it anymore.
Or the question is, will it contract in a way that the conservatives will pull away, just like the American Episcopalians pulling out of the Anglican Church. So it may be that.
There's no way this church is going to go progressive. look at the College of Cardinals. Look at the last 2 popes.
But surprises do happen. I mean, I must believe to a certain degree that it was interesting because in one of the columns, I can't remember who, maybe it was Frank Bruni again, but was saying that, on the one hand, if the church is vital and growing in places like South America and Africa, maybe they don't need a black pope or Hispanic pope because it's going well there, but maybe a European pope is needed or an American pope because that's where the church is languishing. I don't know.
My guess is they're writing the Americans and the Europeans off. And if they move forward, I think they'd have to. We have a call? Go ahead, caller. Hello?
My name's Mike in Philadelphia. How are you?
Hi, Mike.
Hey, a couple things about the church. I have always believed, I think my grandmother told me this, that the reason they let priests get married is because the church is too afraid once the priest dies that the wife will still be around and they'll be responsible for her as a landowner, that she'll cost them money.
Well, yeah, I mean that's right. That's
I was in the Vatican last April or May.
Yeah.
And we left there, and my wife turned to me and she said, "I'm going to tell you right now, I'm never going to another church ever again." It was so. I mean, the art in there is beautiful, but it was sickening. The amount of wealth that the church has to us was just so. It was so overwhelming. I said, if they sold 1/100th of the art in that place, they could do away with so much famine and disease in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so opulent. It was really disgusting to us. And I felt that same way about the church as she does too. But it's just become so apparent to me that it's just it has become greedy. And I was raised Catholic. I had communion, confirmation, all that stuff, and so was my wife. Went to Catholic school all of her life, and it's just gotten to be such a greedy power grab that it's just turned us off completely. And my mother, who was every Sunday churchgoer, one time they passed around the plate at the service, and she didn't put any money in because she felt, what is this money going to? It's going to pay off molestation charges. And then the priest at the end of the service, at the next service, the following Sunday, complained to the parishioners that the plate was too light, that they needed to start donating more money, and that was the end of it for her. And it's just, I don't know where they went wrong. Maybe it is that light is starting to shine on them through news and social media, and they just don't know how to handle it. But it is a sad state of affairs because I do think that there are people who do good there.
Oh, heck
but
yeah!
It's just it seems to be so few and far between now.
Well, I've dealt with worked on some projects with the sisters. And they're amazing. They're living it.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have fancy cars and live in houses and get waited on. They do it all themselves, and they're living the real life. I say turn the church over to the women, and that's the only shot you got. Hey, thanks for the call.
I do a fundraiser and raise charities for a out here called Dawn's Place. It's run by sisters out here that helps women who are forced into prostitution and human trafficking. My wife and I both volunteer our time there, and it's much more fulfilling because it's not affiliated with the church at all. It's run by nuns, but it's not affiliated with the church. It's a little house tab that they get these women GEDs and jobs and rehab and all that stuff, and it's just that to me is so much more fulfilling than anything that I've ever seen the church do.
Yeah, and they do so much work like that. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate the call. Okay, and as if we don't have enough subjects going, Rich has brought this one up. Lynn, help! I've watched far too much coverage of this sequester, and I'm not completely out of Xanax. Oh, good. Could I have some? Because I've been looking for some Xanax. I guess I just need to turn off the TV. The Pope resigning, the sequester is surely a sign of the end times. Please explain this to me. Yesterday morning, there was a press release that said that Pelosi, Boehner, McConnell, Reid, and the president will meet on Friday to discuss options. Specific. What went wrong with the meeting yesterday or today? Why are we wasting 48 hours between the press release and the meeting? I'm honestly disappointed in all five. Did you see Boehner and the president together in the same space when they unveiled the Rosa Parks statue yesterday? Boehner looked like, I mean, he couldn't even.
He's been rather dyspeptic in the last few days.
I know, but they can't even talk. Yeah, I mean, they won't talk. They will not. Yeah. It's going to have to happen. Yeah. They're going to have to. People are going to have to see what they've begot. Yeah. And what they begot's going to be.
It was a mess.
A mess.
Well, it was very funny. I thought it was interesting. Did I see this in the paper one of the posts? And they were talking about the newest Republican proposal. I can't remember who was putting it up. Was to say, okay, President, you make the choices.
That was Toomey.
Oh, Toomey, that's right. And what I find interesting about that is the reason I think that he put it up is sort of if the president says cut this, then they can blame him. They don't want to be the ones to say we're cutting this.
Well, that's why the president has said, hey, give me one specific. Give me something. All they do is
blame game.
Bray. They don't
that's a
offer.
Good word. Bray. That's a very good word.
They do not offer anything. They just, whatever the president wants, no. Yeah, right. God, I wish that Rosa Parks statue could have come to life and hit them all with hit them with her handbag.
Yeah, really.
Jeez.
Now, can we get on to our culinary topic?
Yes, but wait, because I have to take another break.
Oh, do please.
We have to get a break. And I do want to just throw this in because we got to talk about this case.
This culinary thing.
Yeah, this culinary case. And I just want to say that the plot is thickening on the Heinz deal.
Oh, the insider.
Yeah, there's more going on. They were looking. There's something weird happened in a Goldman Sachs account in Switzerland.
Oh, really?
Now it's gotten over to London, a whole other development.
God.
And focusing on a complex derivative bet routed through London. So the SEC has escalated its investigation. The FBI has opened a criminal investigation. The SEC called the trading in London highly suspicious. And it says here that all of this may cast a cloud over the Heinz deal because after they figure out what was going on in London and what was going on in Switzerland, they're going to turn their attention on who leaked information to these guys. And it would have to be somebody from the Heinz end or the buyer end or somebody facilitating it in between. And
which could be a lot of people.
Yeah, and obviously that then could end up getting ugly.
Well, that's especially now with emails. I mean, it could be anyone in the world for that matter who was on an email trail and then just it was viral.
Human nature and money. I'm telling you, that's all of it. And Diane writes, Boehner always looks like he could use more fiber. Fiber in his diet.
Yeah, really.
We got to take a quick break. Be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for our special summer camp preview section. Plus, Britt Floyd, Indigo Girls, Black Grace, and Tenacious D. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education, brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
That's right.
And that's the horrible thing. Yeah, it's a cover-up thing.
Okay, so now and my apologies to those of you who find this not a subject that's proper for my high-toned program.
But Mr. Slatner, whatever his name is, would love it.
Schlatter.
Love.
Okay, so this is about that cannibal trial in New York. What happened is last night I read a piece, which I found fascinating.
It was fascinating.
It was just really well done. And it's somebody that was, his name is Daniel Engber, and this was posted on Slate. And he's been sitting through the trial of this cop who was online talking to other people about killing, dismembering,
female fricassee,
eating women. Yes, and he's on trial. The charge, because he never did any of that. As this guy says, he never kidnapped anyone or raped anyone or murdered anyone. He was never violent to the women who will in fact take the stand, to testify. He has never tasted human flesh, but he did think about these things, and he talked about these things. He may even have taken steps to plan them out, but did he really mean to do them? Now, his attorney is going to say, look, this is a very important case, because in this case, we're going to have to deal with the difference between reality and the pretend world on the internet.
Right, exactly.
On the internet. That you can go into the internet and be anybody, right? And say anything and engage in all manner of crazy
Well, I mean, look, this is a softer version, but Manti Teo.
Yeah, same thing. Same kind of thing. That's right. Okay. So he says this is an important case because if you can be convicted of your fantasies, well, people can get themselves in all kinds of trouble.
Well, I mean, we look back to the 18th century, the Marquis de Sade and his writings.
Yeah.
Now, how much he actually did, the history would tell you maybe or maybe not. But I mean, this is really ridiculous. And if you read this one piece, he had a friend, a British friend, on the internet, and they were the ones who would swap these stories
and recipes.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's one from the guy.
Sausage.
Here's one from the guy in London. His name was Moody Blues. Oh, I enjoy it all, even the awful. Nothing like a stuffed heart. And then he went on to propose that they cut off the victim's hands, cupping them around a bowl full of rice and chilies and steaming them into a nice... Now, see, this becomes so cartoonish.
So baroque, yeah.
So grotesque that he mentions he has a recipe for haggis using the lungs and heart and black pudding made from breast fat and blood.
Well, and the minute Lynn puts her brilliant elocution to it, it sounds sort of ridiculous.
Of course.
But the issue, though, becomes, I mean, what I was thinking about is, remember, because the guy just got off, I think, after being 19 years incorrectly in jail. What was it, the early 80s? Remember when there were all those cases of child molestations happening in preschools and that?
Stuff, yeah.
And it just, you remember all those instances where the teachers and the feds, et cetera, or the local police would get these communities riled up, and these little children would do what the police, didn't the man do?
Yes, no, they were.
And in a sense,
right.
I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but this issue of when do you take, especially with this whole craziness of the matrix of the internet and people's weird urges and people's weird feelings of inadequacy, and do you read something like that and say we have to get this guy off the streets because he's about to
well, that's horrible. The thing. So where does it... So
Clarice.
Yes, Clarice. So that's what... So the prosecutor is saying, hey, look, what we're going to prove is at some point this went across the line from some masturbatory fantasy to he started to act.
Right.
And...
But then you say, but the odd part of that, if he went and bought a kitchen knife, I mean, maybe they needed a kitchen knife at home. It doesn't mean he was going to jab someone in the stomach.
And here's the other odd thing that's going on. So you've got these men all over the world going to this site and trading these...
Sitting in their BVDs.
Yes, yeah, right. And that's what this writer says. other of the passages, as they're reading these emails in court, other passages read like twisted cybersex, as two ostensibly heterosexual men get each other off in an online chat. They talk dirty about desires so violent and so insane that they could never be realized in real life. The loneliness of this predicament seems to play out in a weird and painful intimacy and an aching need to push deeper and deeper into the shared fantasy. Where he might have crossed, here's where he might have crossed the line. Here's where I think they might be in some trouble. This guy is a New York City cop. He did check a police database to learn the home addresses of some women that he was fantasizing about. That would be, I'm sure, a violation of something.
Yeah, sure.
He also met with several of these women. And that might constitute sort of an overt act of furthering this fantasy into reality. Now, there's one who even had a whole big file on abducting and cooking Kimberly. And Kimberly is somebody he went to high school with. And then he found her again because he's having fantasies about her, the high school Kimberly, I'm sure. And so he asked if he could come and have lunch with her. And he did. He met Kimberly for brunch at Cafe Deluxe in Gaithersburg, Maryland. But he brought along his wife and baby. And Kimberly said, I didn't notice anything weird going on. Another guy he talks to on the internet about doing all these weird things. And this is the guy he was talking to. They were going to... one of them was going to kidnap a woman. Yes. He'd pay $4,000 for it. Right. These two are going back and forth about this. This guy lives in the United States. And that guy is in New Jersey. His name is Michael Van Heinz. And they work out a deal in which the cop will deliver one of his friends, a real woman, as a sex slave to Van Heinz. And they go on and on and on. And there's even a day when they're supposed to do the delivery. Of course, no delivery occurs. No woman is brought to them. And then nothing happens for a while. And then they start up the conversation again. And nobody says, hey, where's because it's just, Kimberly? They're on another fantasy. And the guy in New Jersey's wife knows that he does this, knows that he does this sadistic role-playing. And she says, she told the New York Times.
Oh, that's just Joe's thing.
Yeah, she says, I know, yeah, it's disturbing, yeah, but you have to accept your partner's flaws in a marriage. He's a big teddy bear and as hardcore as a baby.
So, well, the interesting thing about that is, you're reading this, and again, to me, the most interesting thing in that you read was this business of him going to have lunch with Kimberly, and it being, let's talk about the high school reunion game, the what do you call that thing, homecoming or whatever. Remember when teacher so-and-so did that absolute disconnect between his real thing and then this craziness. And I guess, the interesting thing, I guess one would have to have shrink would say one thing, the law would say something else. But when does the tipping, if these fantasies have gotten more baroque and more grotesque and whatever, and if he bought a knife and he bought a gag and all this business, when does it perhaps tip over into something real? When can you sort of see something coming and try to prevent it?
Right.
That's exactly the thing where I think law probably...
this just in from one of you. I appreciate it. Channel 11 reporting. Breaking news. 11 has confirmed through sources that Pittsburgh Mayor Luke Ravenstahl is questioning running for re-election. Rick Earl said, that's the reporter, said an announcement may come as soon as Thursday. That's today.
Today.
Two sources from inside City Hall told Earl that Ravenstahl has told people close to him that he will not seek re-election. We're still working to confirm the details. All right.
Because it was just last week that he officially...
Okay, so there you go.
That will be big news in the Berg.
It sure will. The plot thickens. So then, oh wow, it'll be a free-for-all. So,
well, not really. There's only 2 people running.
No, one more will jump in then.
No, that's probably true.
Jack Wagner will jump in. Well, I might jump in. What do you think?
Oh, Ninu for mayor. Ninu for mayor. Can I be your?
I'm so sick of all the white men. Can we? Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Watch out your own.
Yeah, and don't worry, I won't have security details that we take out for lap dancing and stuff like that. I will not. Okay.
But you'll sin in your heart.
So
Didn't someone say that?
So this is, no, that was Carter. President Carter who lusted.
Lusted in his heart, that's right.
And someday I'll tell you my Carter story.
Oh.
My close call with Jimmy Carter's genitalia.
Oh, my God. What I've learned in this year and a half with this woman, bestiality to presidentiality.
Yes, I might have got Jimmy to lust in his heart.
For you.
Okay, so here's what this brilliant writer, I just think this is a brilliant piece. Because it's such an interesting question.
Oh, you have to stop you. You probably didn't notice, but Chris Potter, you told me, ran 3 times. I was wondering if he's rushing off to City Hall.
Oh, no, that's the reporter. Yeah, the reporter in Chris Potter. So, as the trial continues, this is the end of the cannibal one. As the trial continues, the jury will be asked. I would hate to be on this jury. It would be fascinating, actually, but heavy responsibility.
Well, because, it's also what's interesting. I mean, I've done grand jury, but it's slightly the same thing. But when the thing I found fascinating about it is when they finally you've heard all the crap, the judge then tells you what you need to vote on. I mean, not how you should vote, but what is the law? And very often what we think, is it's not this like wider, but he didn't say about, it's like that is the slice of the law and that's what you have to vote on. It doesn't matter that, blah, blah, blah. That's what you're to vote on. And this, it's like, what is it that this guy did wrong other than being wacko?
That's it.
And is he allowed to be wacko in private? And if his wife's saying he's a cuddly bear, he'd never do anything, I wouldn't necessarily want to have dinner with him, but although maybe I would. I mean, what do you know I do on the internet?
No, the guy says he just sits there like, you can imagine. I mean, very few people want their sexual fantasies laid out.
Exactly. And it's such grotesque.
But these are particularly, we have to admit, beyond where most people go. So he says the jury's going to have to figure out the difference between the real world and pretend world inside of this guy's head. The problem is that his head is not like the jurors' heads,
well, that's a very interesting point.
Or my head. And in his opening statement, the prosecutor says to the jurors, use your common sense in making this distinction. But the writer says, I'm not sure that common sense is going to help here. Because what use is intuition when you're hearing from a man who fantasized about eating, human haggis?
Yeah, right.
So is the prosecutor saying, is he making, really what he's saying, is he making a coded invitation for the jurors to punish this guy's uncommon desires?
Right. Well, and the question comes, what's that one new TV show about, the gay couples have the new normal or the next normal? I mean, what is normative? I mean, that's, I think the interesting thing about the thematics of this show today. I mean, I think whether it's in religion or law, it's all this question of, I mean, I've always taken the view, religion and politics, although you have certain ground rules, so much of it is situational.
Yeah.
And if we don't realize that, and we do different things in times of war, in times of peace. We do things in drought. We do things when there's famine. We do things when there's pestilence, etc. Biblical in one way, or when cholera, or what was it, the flu in 1907 when all those people were killed. I mean, you make laws, you regulate, you have martial law when you have to. But that's all sort of situational. And it's hard, I think, if you just look at common sense, because some people say, it's not always done that way. Well, you have to make changes sometimes. Do we call her?
We have a caller.
Hey, sorry to keep you guys late. I heard that the only charge they can get him on, though, is because he talked to someone else about it, so it's a conspiracy charge.
Because, well, the emails constitute a conspiracy. Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're not even saying, your individual thoughts. It's the fact that he shared them.
He was sharing the fantasy with somebody else. So the fantasy would be they were conspiring to kidnap, kill, rape, all this stuff. And so the court is arguing that this was not just fantasy, that this was, in fact, something they intended to carry out.
But if it's a shared fantasy, then it's not...
but that's how the fact... He's charged with conspiracy. Yeah. Conspiracy requires a co-conspirator.
I'm wondering if the prosecutors and all are thinking they shouldn't have got themselves into this.
I would think so too. I think this is a tough one.
Viper's
does that mean that if there's some odd law about whatever in some state, and there are websites devoted to many, many things, that anybody that communicates on that website could be brought up on these same charges?
Well, yeah, in a sense.
Well, that's why I guess that's right. They're saying that this is an important case for everybody because if, in fact, any site you go to could conceivably get you in that kind of trouble. Can you talk about stuff?
Boy, and then you start thinking of McCarthyism. Jeez.
No, right.
Wow. Okay, guys.
It's an important case. Thank you. It really is. All right.
It is because it's. I mean, I think what do we consider okay or marginally okay? When do we feel endangered? I mean, on one level, if the wife said he's a teddy bear, she's not endangered. Why should I care?
The one wife said he's a teddy bear. The other wife is the one who turned him into the police.
Oh, that's right. You're absolutely right. Yes.
She turned him in. She went on she saw what he was up to, grabbed her baby, and ran home to her parents in Nevada or something. Because she thought, Jesus God.
And the other one comes in and says, I think you need more paprika in that recipe, Harry.
So, there you go.
And on that, when you hear Miss Ninu Lynn tomorrow, we may have great Pittsburgh news, might we?
Oh, wow. We might have some biggie news. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Lynn. It was fun, yes.
Thank you. And, tomorrow. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.